Good day, my name is Christel from Frans de Klerk Independent Technical Analysts. Our first question was from Sarel, and he wanted us to look at Pick n Pay. Sarel, we can see here back in April 2018 when that tweezer top warned investors on the weekly graph. Ever since then, the share just continued to make lower highs. But at the moment, Pick n Pay is caught within this falling wedge formation. And a falling wedge formation normally has a small mouth and a bigger tail. The gap at the end is a lot bigger than where the mouth, the gap in the mouth. And a falling wedge is a positive formation, which implies that should the share price change that upper band into a support, the formation will be confirmed. And we can see the first sign of strength on Pick n Pay would be above last week's high, and that is waiting at 49 Rand 25. Above 49.25, you can consider a buy. And if you want to rather wait for the falling wedge formation to be confirmed, then you should wait for about 50 Rand 23 to change into a support before you nibble on the share. If we go back, we can see, this share is trading at the same levels it did here almost around March 2015. So you can use these support levels there of about 44 Rand 90 as a possible stop loss level for a possible buy. And so our viewers would know that the target of a falling wedge formation is normally the conservative target. Some people take the tail, the width of the tail, but we're a little bit more conservative. So if we take the width of the body of the falling wedge and we project it upwards from where it will be confirmed, it means that the target of that falling wedge is about 56.34. If the share price continue to decline and work on this lower band of the falling wedge, it will only become, the formation will only be wiped off the table when this support level changes into a resistance. And then one should wait to see if another formation or candle pattern appears. Pick n Pay on the stochastic indicator is already in oversold territory, which means the probability of the instrument to bounce to higher levels is there, but there's no divergence yet. The divergence is visible when the two moving averages within the indicator breaks one another to the upside. And the blue line represents the K line, which is the shorter moving average within the stochastic, while the orange line represents the D line, a little bit of a longer moving average. So the blue line will always react first, and that's why that line will always first break upwards through the orange line from the downside, and on the top the blue line will always break downwards through the orange line on the overbought territory side. So Sarel, I think a nice share that you've selected here as a possible buy opportunity if those resistances changes into a support. Mpo wanted us to look at Investec Limited. Mpo, you can see there's a clear symmetrical triangle. And this lower band of my symmetrical triangle is a temporary line. So it's not that strong a line. Why? Because I only have two touching points on my graph. If I move this a little bit higher, I might say this is a stronger line because I've got three touching points. And I do not count a line when it pierces a support or resistance line. I don't count the shadow or the real body. So for me, that is a stronger line. But a symmetrical triangle is an uncertain formation. Why? Because when the upper band changes into a support and the share price continues to rise to higher levels, that is seen as positive, and it can act as a possible continuation pattern for higher levels. However, if this lower band changes into a resistance and the instrument starts to consolidate and trade below it, it can confirm a bearish pennant. Now, a bearish pennant is a continuation pattern. It means that it's a small pause in the overall downtrend of the instrument. So we can see Investec Limited here is clearly in a downtrend, and then it got caught in the symmetrical triangle. And should this lower band changes into a resistance, it means that this overall downtrend can continue even further should that level, that resistance, that support now changes into a resistance and remain one, can take the share or the instrument even lower. And that support level is waiting there around 34 Rand and 1 cent. So below that, on a weekly close, remember these are weekly graphs, I will be concerned about Investec Limited. But above 36 Rand 46, that upper band will confirm optimism, and it might be the spark to take Investec Limited to higher levels. So it's a very indecisive formation at the moment, and what doesn't help is the fact that our stochastic indicator is sitting on a 50. In no man's land, it's not stretched enough. We prefer when it's extremely oversold for a long or extremely overbought for a short. So at the moment, wait for confirmation of either the upper band or the lower band. I would not consider a short at this stage or a long. I would wait to see if the upper band confirms or the lower band for more downside. Kevin wanted us to look at Truworths. Not only Truworths, but many of our retailers are sitting with cup and handle formations. Now, a cup and handle formation is a formation where there's a massive cup and a handle which also confirms a possible higher low. So some investors or traders use this handle, that falling channel, and they accumulate the share when that channel gets confirmed. But the actual formation will only be confirmed when that resistance line that confirms the cup and handle gets confirmed, or like the instrument starts to consolidate above it. So at the moment, I'm sitting here with a possible cup and handle formation, and that cup and handle formation will be confirmed when that resistance at 39 Rand 32 changes into a support. In other words, when the share starts to consolidate and trade above it. When will I be nervous, or when will the optimism around that cup and handle formation be wiped off the table? When that support at around 30 Rand and 10 cents on Truworths changes into a resistance. So some might say consider a buy above the highs there of 33 Rand 49. Stop loss, give it some breathing space, maybe 29.16, and then obviously all those resistances as possible targets. Also take note, and not only in Truworths' case, many of the retailers and even banks have got cup and handle formations on them. But not only that, very interesting, the 40-week moving average on many of these graphs, and interesting enough, it's not only on the SA shares, it's also on the US market. A lot of them are sitting with their cup and handles, and the 40-week moving average are so close to that confirmation of the cup and handle. And that also implies the importance of these resistance levels. My 40-week moving average on Truworths is sitting at 40 Rand 31. So should the share find enough buyers to lift it through these resistances, and those levels can change into a support, it will act as very optimistic, and it will confirm the optimism towards these shares. However, should the instrument find resistance at that level or even lower and starts to retrace again, and these support levels starts to change into resistance levels, it will be seen as very negative. Why? We refer to that as lower highs, and that implies loss of momentum, loss of interest, and that is seen as very, very negative. If I go back to the Truworths graph, we can clearly see that the share is trading here at the same levels it did back in August, September 2009. So let's hope, Kevin, that your Truworths cup and handle does play out. If you want to consider a long, do so above 33 Rand 49. Stop loss that you can use is about 29 Rand 11, and then obviously 35.76 that cup and handle, 39.32, and that 40-week moving average waiting there at 40 Rand 31 as possible targets for Truworths. I like the graph. It's optimistic. It looks optimistic at this stage. My stochastic indicator is not in ideal territory, so maybe rather wait, be more patient than what you want to. Ishmael wanted us to look at British American Tobacco, and especially he referred to the one listed on the JSE. So Ishmael, at the moment, you can see very important, that red line, which represents the 40-week moving average, has changed into support, into a resistance. And that tells us that the long-term sentiment towards this instrument, British American Tobacco, has now changed to negative, and that is seen as negative. more importantly, Ishmael, we can see that there is, despite not being that high, a possible double top formation that will be confirmed on British American Tobacco when this support level changes into a resistance. And that is waiting there around 459 Rand 39. That is where that support for British American Tobacco is waiting. It's oversold, which makes the probability for a bounce likely. But let's say British American Tobacco finds support and bounce again. That would be seen as very positive. Why? Because then this low would be higher than this low, and then we refer to it as higher lows, and that is seen as very positive. So at the moment, I look at my candles, and it's the one red candle after the other. In fact, it almost opens at the close of the previous session, and then just massive selling pressure. And if you look there, there's a gap, Ishmael, and that is waiting between 548 Rand 34 and the high there of 581 Rand 21. And that gap tells you that even at the open, the sellers were so strong, it even jumped over levels. They just wanted to get out of the stock. So let's hope the oversold situation supports British American Tobacco. I would wait for confirmation of some support and turnaround candle or pattern before I accumulate the share. At the moment, I would sit on my hands. In fact, if you are in profit and to bank now profit, you're almost too late. You should have banked it on the shooting star candle when it was overbought. So maybe give it a couple of sessions, see how the candle performs, how this stochastic indicator turns around. But to take profit now, I think you're almost too late. Maybe you can consider taking profit when the share bounces, rather than trying to take profit when it's this oversold. Don't forget to send us your requests for next week's show. Have a super week. Take care.